we get our experience, quote marks, from about violence from movies, right? And a lot of the stuff that we see in movies is just total fantasy out to lunch. So that's where, and we go, oh, well, I know the difference. Really? What half? Okay, like you ever seen in real life a shotgun blast or, somebody getting shot and they fly backwards?
I haven't seen that.
No, bullets don't have that power.
I'd imagine your nervous system would go into shock and you'd collapse.
It's not the size of the bullet, it's what's behind the bullet. Most people, when they've been shot by a pistol, describe it as it felt like they got punched. So that's what it feels like to get shot. All right. Now, if you've got little bullet in front with a very big cartridge full of powder, that's got enough energy to shut down the nervous system temporarily. Okay. That's why when people get shot with carbines, right? Which, by the way, here's an example of stupid shit that sorry, I'm trying to keep this family friendly.
Oh, I'm going to check, not made for children. So
yeah, just go ahead and do that. How many times have you seen TV where the guy has access to a carbine or a rifle and then, throws it away and runs around with his pistol? Okay. No professional in the world is going to do that. It's like, hey, carbines got more stopping power than pistols, right? But everybody thinks, oh yeah, you'll just, the hero, he always drops the carbine and takes his pistol, right? And he goes charging and aren't I tough? And it's like, no, that's actually kind of stupid, right? And then you can ask how many times it's like, why, look at these situations where they actually end up dropping their guns and they have to fight.
Okay. That's more exciting.
Yeah, it is. It's very visually exciting, and that's where we get a lot of our misconceptions about robberies and violence, and we think this is it.
Going on into movies, we talked a bit about it, but how are some ways movies get violence correct, or do you know of movies that do accurately portray violence?
Yes, there are really good examples of movies that do get it right, and then other movies that are just so horribly bad, right? Yes, I talked about the weapon being dropped, so then they have to duke it out. The only series that I ever saw that addressed that was Leverage, where their goon, their fighter, made it a consistent thing. I don't like guns because they're done at the wrong range, yada 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 yada, and he'd prefer to go hand to hand, right? So yeah, it's fantasy, but it's like, look, he gave a good, reasonable, the question that you asked is so vast, starting with the fact that there are different types of violence. Different types of violence have different rules, they have different goals, they have different outcomes. And when you get people who don't understand it, they try and write this as that. And they blow it badly. Because violence is actually, once you understand it, it's very predictable. Okay? And once you know the type you're dealing with, you know what works and what doesn't work. So, like, one of the examples of a movie that really got it right was Open Range, right? Where you have this gang of guys and they have a gunslinger, right, who shot one of these guys' friends. And Kevin Costner's character walks up and says, are you the one who killed our friends? And he goes, yeah. And I liked it. And he's looking at all his buddies, and they're like, yeah, he's our big bad guy. And Costner's character just drills him right between the eyes. right? No warning, no posturing, no, right? Um, that actually is right when you're dealing with two professionals, right? And this one guy did a non-professional thing and gloated, and he got his brains blown out, right? So that type of violence is very real. It does exist, and to establish a character along those lines takes work. Um, you know, some of the other things, if you watch like the oh Lord, um, not Leonardo DiCaprio, the shoot the Romeo and Juliet.
Right?
There was a really yeah, it's the 1980s. Olivia de Hussey, I think was her name.
Okay, so it's not the newer Romeo and Juliet.
Yeah. Well, the thing was, there was like a friend of his. They were kind of goofing and with this other guy, and he gets stabbed and he dies. Right. Um, and what had been a duel for show where everybody's making blue, oh yeah, look at this. When Romeo hears that his friend has been killed, he comes in with the stone cold intent to kill. I think it's Tybalt. Yeah, it was Tybalt. Tybalt killed Mercutio, his friend. And when you see this blind rage with intent to kill, they got it right. In Romeo and Juliet of all things. Okay, and I mean he kills Tybalt, so but the other thing is how much of violence is for show. It's not a fight. If I say fight and combat, those are two totally different things. So there are movies that actually get them right if you know what you're looking at. Right. And I mean, I love teaching people like, yeah, go watch this movie because they get it right here. Right. And it really, we humans are visual and audio learners. So when we see something and we see it the right way, we go, oh, okay. It hits us on a very visceral level. But if we see something that's fake, we don't quite have that same, we don't have the, no, that ain't right feeling. Okay. An older movie that I really loved for this one, I love this one scene, was John Travolta in Urban Cowboy, where he's like almost he's trying to get in a fight, which would be a bar fight for him, and people pull him back, and John Glenn character is standing there with his hand behind his back, and as they're pulling it away, they cut back to, this guy's a convict, but they have him fold. He's folding a knife that he's been holding behind his back. Right. That's an example of real Hollywood getting it right, but they do it so rarely.
I think there's a distinction between violence and action. So people, I mean, it's obvious Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon is not like an accurate depiction of a sword fight, but I think people might see a movie like Kill Bill where obviously the ending was over the top, but there's a part where she's beating this guy named Buck, who's like this orderly, and she's like smashing his head, smashing a door into his head, and he just kind of lays there and takes it. And I think I remember when I saw it in the theater, someone goes, "Why doesn't he fight back?" And I think that's the common misperception that I see is that people aren't expecting that if you punch someone, there's going to be a consequence.